It's Pride Month, bitches! Greetings and salutations, my dearest friends. Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's Pride Month, my favorite month of the entire year, because I get to yap about all of my favorite queer romances, which I pretty much do all the time anyways. I just get to do it like extra, you know? Anyways, I am doing a bunch of videos this month talking about all of my favorite queer romances, reading some new LGBTQ romances, and just having a good fucking time. I've already done a couple of videos. I did one recommending my favorite sapphic romances, one recommending my favorite romances, so I will leave them down below if you want to check them out. Every time I film, there's always so much noise. Always. It's going to be more of a casual video if you couldn't tell. I'm going to be recommending a bunch of romances based on popular tropes. I've done this type of video before, but I have this bag right here. This is from Lila June & Co., which is a brand that does these really fun tarot-inspired trope cards. They basically look like this, so each card has a different romance trope on it, and I will put them in a bag, shake them up, and give you a recommendation based on the card that I pick, or multiple recommendations depending on the trope. This is going to be completely at random, so I'm going to be giving like rapid fire recommendations, whatever I can think of in that moment. You get it, you get the point of the game. All right, enough yapping. I explained the rules of the game. Go ahead and actually let me shuffle these. All right, let's go ahead and hop in. Let me pick my first trope. I'm not looking. Can you see it? You can't see it. It's the back of the card. This is the trope right here. It says Billionaire Romance. Love that. Why is my brain already blinking? All right, the first book that comes to mind is The Husband Hoax by Saxon James. I don't know if this hero is a billionaire, but he definitely has some money, and it's sort of an important plot point in the book. It starts off by following our hero Christian, who is kind of a walking disaster. His family doesn't approve what he does for a living, nor do they ever approve who he dates. So he's invited to his cousin's wedding and kind of wants to show out, wants to show his family everything that they've been missing. He ends up hiring a fake date to join him to the wedding, but that date ends up canceling on him, and when he gets to the wedding, that is how he meets our other hero, Emil. Now, Emil has his own set of family troubles. His grandfather recently passed away, and he comes from a very, very wealthy family. His grandfather left him a huge inheritance, but one of the one of the stipulations to get the inheritance is that he needs to be married. Emil meets Christian at this wedding, and the two of them decide to fake date. Christian has someone that can go to the wedding with him, and his family doesn't try to hook him up with someone else. And then they also pretend to be engaged so that Emil can get his inheritance. I love this book so much. It's so sweet. It's so funny. This series, I think it's called like the Accidental Love series or something like that. It's fantastic. There's quite a few books in this series. They're all male-male romances, and they all follow the same friend group because this has a huge found family trope to it. In this series, there is a house with a bunch of roommates, and they've all started to live together and really started to bond because they are all artists as well as all being queer. So again, huge found family trope. I recommend each book in the series. They do all follow different characters, so you can technically read them out of order, although they are more fun to read in order. Each book has different tropes like friends to lovers, fake dating, billionaire romance, just all the tropes, all the things. I love this series. Another romance that I think of when I think of billionaire romance is Don't Tell Me No by Honey Chanel. This one is a sapphic novella. This one is a little bit darker because it follows our heroine who is married to a man, and he's trash. He's quite literally trash. He ends up stealing from the company that he works with, and his boss finds out. His boss is a badass CEO woman who really doesn't take anybody's shit, and he's stolen a lot of money from her. Okay, he's in debt, and the boss, our other heroine, has kind of like secretly been pining after his wife. So she's like, hey, like, let's make a deal. I'll forgive you of all the money you owe me if you let me have your wife. So we're gonna sign a contract where your wife is mine for 24 hours and she can't tell me no. Hence the title, Don't Tell Me No. And the husband agrees and essentially offers his wife on a silver platter to his billionaire boss. yeah, I know the premise sounds a little bit dark, but I promise you it's all fun. It's just a quick, steamy read and a really good novella to pick up if you're looking for a billionaire romance. All right, let's go on to the second trope. Let's pick another card. This one is Grumpy Sunshine. For Grumpy Sunshine, the book that I think of is Only in One Coffin by A.J. Truman. This one is a male-male vampire romance. It follows our hero Magnus, who is a century-old vampire, okay? He's been through it. He is grumpy. He really doesn't like being around people. So he kind of has a tradition that every holiday he likes to go to a hotel that is notorious for housing different paranormal creatures and specifically vampires. When he gets there, the hotel actually makes a mistake and double books his room. And there are no other rooms left. They're full. They're packed. They're in the middle of nowhere. So he has to share a room with a newly bitten vampire named Kilroy. Kilroy is the complete opposite of him. He is freshly turned. He's basically like a surfer dude. Along with everyone is the definition of a golden retriever. It follows their romance as they're kind of like forced to share this hotel room and also a coffin. Okay, this isn't a only one bed trope. This is a only one coffin trope. I really liked this one. It's fun, it's low angst, and it is a good Grumpy Sunshine recommendation. Another Grumpy Sunshine book I love is Perfectly Imperfect Pixie by MJ May. This is a paranormal romance series. The first book is a male-male romance between a werewolf shifter and a pixie, which sounds a little strange, but just like stick with me for a second. It starts off by following our hero Cedric, who is a werewolf shifter, and he has recently become the guardian to his niece and nephew. His brother and his sister-in-law pass away in a car crash, but the circumstances of their death is suspect, okay? The grandfather of his niece and nephew is crazy and involved in some wild stuff. Cedric really wants to make sure that he's protecting his family, but the grandfather is fighting for the custody of his niece and nephew. He decides that he's going to do anything that he can to create a safe environment to make sure that he gains full custody, and in doing so, he is recommended a home and hearth pixie. Every pixie has different affinities, but home and hearth pixies are known as very nurturing, very good with children, which is why Cedric wants one. That is how he meets our other hero, Phil, or Philodendron is like his full pixie name. Phil looks a little bit different than most pixies. Most of them are like very dainty and small, and he's super tall, kind of buff, doesn't really fit like the usual look of pixies. So because of that, a lot of people have judged him. Obviously, he ends up working for Cedric and it follows the romance. It does have a grumpy sunshine trope as well as a faded mates trope. I feel like I'm not describing this book or giving it any sort of justice because it really is so incredibly unique. I've never read a paranormal series quite like this one. There are so many different paranormal creatures within all of the books. There's zombies and fae, pixies, werewolf shifters, vampires. The second book in this series, I think it's called Perfectly Perfect Pixie. That one also has a grumpy sunshine trope and is a romance between a vampire and a pixie. In that book, there is kind of a lore that pixie blood is poisonous to vampires, so they always kind of stay away from them until our hero, who is a vampire, meets a pixie that he thinks could potentially be his fated mate, and makes him rethink all of the lore and tradition that he's been told. You have to read these books in order because there is one overarching plot as well as like a huge found family trope with all of the characters, but read the whole series because it's really fantastic and super underrated, and also on KU, so you can read the whole series on Kindle Unlimited. All right, I've been talking about those books forever, so let's go ahead and pick another trope. This one, forced proximity. I feel like we've just talked about one. Only One Coffin was technically forced proximity. The book that has forced proximity that I love is a fantasy, and it's called Lacuna by N.R. Walker. This one is a really fun male-male romantasy. In this fantasy universe, there are 4 kingdoms with 4 separate rulers. All of the kingdoms are divided between their terrain. So there is a kingdom that is in the desert, a kingdom that is by the water, etc., etc. And it's kind of interesting because the way that they chose their leaders is actually by fate. fate. So each leader was born with a mark on their wrist that essentially told them that they were fated to be the ruler of the kingdom. Kingdoms are divided like this because years ago they were all at war at one point, and they ended up signing a peace treaty that recognizes each ruler for each kingdom. In the peace treaty, there is a clause that within 20 or so years, all the rulers have to come for like this one rare event to basically like fight for power. When they finally all come together, though, they realize that there is a lot of secrets that they've never been told. They've been lied to about their history. The story really picks up, though, with our two heroes who could not be any more different. One comes from a kingdom that is surrounded by water. Another comes from a kingdom that is in like icy, very harsh terrain, and they don't get along. Complete opposites, complete enemies to lovers vibes. When they meet, the mark on their wrist starts to burn. Not only does the mark on the wrist deem them fated mates, but they also cannot be physically apart from each other without causing the other an immense amount of pain, which is how the forced proximity trope comes into play. They literally can only be like a few feet apart from each other at all times, or they'll die. Yeah. It's kind of intense. They have to navigate through this new connection they have with one another, but also figure out how to protect their kingdom from all of the lies that they've been told for so many years. So it's real good. Again, this is another one that's incredibly unique, and I feel like I'm not giving it justice, but like, read it and all of the magic system will make sense. It's just a really good romantasy book. All right, let's pick another trope. This one says fantasy romance. We just talked about a fantasy romance, but I can recommend more, of course. One of my favorite fantasy romances to this day, it came out a while ago and I still think about it all the time, is Strange Grace by Tessa Gratton. This is a YA fantasy romance that is technically poly. It follows this town that is very wealthy. The crops are very plentiful and they just have good luck, essentially. And it is because years ago, a witch in their town made a deal with the actual devil. The story goes that every couple of years they have a slaughter moon where they sacrifice one boy from the town to this devil in the woods, and because of that, the devil allows their town to be extremely prosperous. The deal has been happening for years and years and years, but something is going wrong with the original deal that was made because the slaughter moon has been happening more frequently than it ever has before, and the woods are demanding even more sacrifices. It ends up following three characters who are all very intricately tied to the forest and the lore of the town. It follows our heroine Merwin, who is a descendant of the original witch who made the deal. It also follows our hero Rune, who is actually the expected saint to be sacrificed to the forest. His family has also been a descendant of sacrifices and saints that have gone into this forest. And then lastly, it follows Arthur, who is kind of an outcast of society, but is continuously drawn to the forest and also best friends with our other characters. The three of them have such a history with the town, but they also have a very emotional connection with each other. This is a YA book, so it's not like particularly steamy, but they are in a poly romance. They have to navigate their own relationships, but they also work together to figure out the truth of what happened in the town however many years ago. This book is dork and delicious. It is such a good fantasy romance. I absolutely love the audiobook. It is one of those books that I just like continuously think about and continuously reread, and it's just so good. Another poly fantasy that I absolutely adore is written by Catherine Moon. So in this book, our heroine gets a job to be a librarian at a magical university. This university allows witches to really hone and master their elements and their power. What's kind of interesting is our heroine does not have any magic of her own, at least that we know of. Obviously, our heroine does have magic, and it's wicked cool. I don't want to, like, spoil it for you guys and tell you what her magic is, but, like, it's freaking cool. But anyways, she ends up getting a job at this library in this university and kind of having a connection with three of the professors on campus. Our three heroes are already in an existing coven. They're looking for someone to join and finish their coven, but also someone to join their poly relationship. As the professors are kind of courting our heroine, there are some strange things happening in this university. People are going missing, dark magic is being used, and the four of them kind of work together to figure out what is going on. I really do love this book so much because it's truly one of the best and most balanced poly romances that I've read. It's told in multiple point of views, so you get a perspective from all four characters. All will have individual romantic and emotional relationships with each other, as well as like one group poly romance. This is technically a series, so there's 4 books in this series, and it is sweet and steamy and fun and really unique. I love the magic system, so this one is a really fun paranormal romantasy. This is one of my favorite tropes. I love queer fantasy romances, so I have so many recommendations, so I'm just gonna like give a bunch. One that I absolutely love is actually a cozy fantasy with a friends to lovers trope, and it's Cursed Cocktails by S.L. Rowland. The audiobook is really fun, and if you like cozy fantasies, this one is a great one. I also really love Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows. This is an epic fantasy with an arranged marriage trope. Our 2 heroes are put into an arranged marriage because their kingdoms are at war and they're trying to garner some peace. This one also has a friends to lovers trope. You can tell that's like one of my favorite tropes ever, and it's just done so well in this book. If you're looking for some sapphic fantasy to read, I like Between Mischief and Magic. This is a romance between a princess and a demon. And then I also love These Witches Don't Burn, which is a YA sapphic romance with witches. All right, let's go ahead and move on. I've talked about fantasy romances enough. Let's pick another card. This one says Friends to Lovers. Oh my god, I recommended a bunch of Friends to Lovers tropes right now. What did I recommend that was Friends to Lovers? Cursed Cocktails and A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows. Those are both Friends to Lovers. A book that I think is the best Friends to Lovers trope I've ever read, like it's so well done, is You and Me by Tao Bauer. I would say this is definitely in like my top 5 favorite books of all time. It's so freaking good. This is a male romance. It starts off by following our hero Luke, who is really going through it, okay? At the beginning of the book, his wife ends up passing away, but he didn't have the best relationship with his wife. In fact, she was kind of like emotionally abusive. He really struggled in their marriage. But of course, he is devastated by her passing because he did love her, and they also share a son together. So now our hero is really just focused on being like the best dad that he can be. But the problem is that his son is in high school and wants nothing to do with him. He's all in that teenage angst type vibe. So our hero Luke is determined to do whatever he needs to kind of like connect with his son. So he ends up volunteering for his son's high school football team. This is where he meets our other hero Landon, who is the president of the PTA at their son's school. And also Luke and Landon's sons are best friends. Both of them are single dads, so they start to bond over that and quickly become best friends. But of course, that leads into a romance. This book is perfect. It's so freaking good. It has all of my favorite tropes. Friends to Lovers, which I prefer over Enemies to Lovers. By Awakening. Our hero Luke is in his 30s, but he got married really, really young, so never really had the opportunity to kind of like explore his own sexuality, and he's able to do so in this book. And then there's also a huge found family trope, because the relationship that the main characters have with their sons and their family is really important. Like, this is so much more than a romance. It really becomes a journey of healing from grief and discovering your true self, and it's just so good. Tao Bauer knows how to write a very emotional, angsty book, but also make it super, super sweet. There's quite a few Friends to Lovers romances now that I'm thinking of it. How to Say I Do has a Friends to Lovers aspect. Gravity, one of his hockey romances, has a Friends to Lovers trope. The Rest of the Story, that's another hockey romance that he has that also has a Friends to Lovers trope. So Tao Bauer does Friends to Lovers and found family really, really well. More rapid fire recs if you're looking for this trope in particular. Love Language by Jax Calder. Crybaby by Marina Vivancos is also another male-male Friends to Lovers romance. Perfect Matcha by Erin McLennan is another male-male Friends to Lovers romance. If you're looking for a sapphic Friends to Lovers romance, there's Being Hospitable by Mika James. And also Hannah Bottom Young has one. What is it called? It's a Christmas romance. Set the record straight. That's what it's called. That one is a Christmas sapphic Friends to Lovers romance. Alright, I feel like we've recommended quite a few books. What tropes did we talk about? We talked about fantasy romances, billionaire romances, Friends to Lovers romances. Hopefully I gave you some good recommendations. If you like this style of video, we could totally do it again, because I have a bunch more cards. There's like a bunch more tropes that we could do this video on. So if you want to see like a part 2 to this video, let me know. Or actually, better yet, why don't you leave me your favorite trope in the comments down below, and in the next video I can take the comments and give you guys recommendations based on the tropes that you want to see in the next video. That would be fun. Hopefully some people comment. So if you stayed this long and you enjoyed this video, normally at the end of videos I say like leave me an emoji, thumbs up, whatever, but if you stayed this long and you enjoyed this video, leave me your favorite trope in the comments down below, and in the next video I will take all your comments and give you a bunch of recommendations, personalized recommendations. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So if you leave a comment down below with your favorite trope, thank you so much. And I just know we're bookish besties. Hope you enjoyed this video and all of the videos that I'm posting this month. I am having so much fun filming all of it, so I hope you're enjoying it. As always, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. It means the world to me. I hope you guys are all staying happy and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! Love you!